Hello, this is Gerald Johan van Waas. Let's focus a bit better upon the word bird. When we know that every letter actually describes what we need to recognize from the reflection of what the bird or how the bird is recognized itself. We're not very conscious about letters, how we choose these letters, how we recognize these letters. But there's a systematic thing in it, how we recognize these letters. Some letters we recognize in very short moments and we immediately have a kind of localization idea. This localization idea is typical for the first 9 letters of this system that is ordered via lots of ways, via geometry, via numerology, via lots of ways how to use this system. But it's like an order of it's the most logical order. So the 1, 2, 3 rule. So maybe it's just one thing. Oh no, there might be 2 things. Only there might be 3 things. Is still everything that can be recognized automatically. Or right, left, high, low, the middle. These kind of things are recognized actually automatically. And if you're not if you not have a steady focus, we move our focus and then we look for ways to adapt and for directions. That's the second category. Or we have a full frame of performance of things that's changing all the time, and we still can recognize certain conditions, how much these change are described in the last 9 letters. It's a system of order which actually describes the kinds of positions that you have in words and that are used in words via the letters. Let's find out what kind of orientations are used with the word bird. And you have these letters in it. You have 2 letters from the last category, I and R, 2 letters from the second category, the D and the E, and you have 1 letter from the first category, the letter B. How do we translate the position, the exact position of the letters in the system? I can give you as well. It is this on the second degrees into the 1, 2, 3 rule. So it is about how do we see actually the form of the objects actually developing. At the B, it's at the third phase. In the third phase, it is already changing and is going towards its borders. So I'm already extending the spatial limits of what I see there developing, of the limits of its growth, as a matter of speaking. Second category is about timing and about movements, about changes. So the letter D is the first one that appears there. So it still starts from the first level or space. It starts from space and it starts to look for something that moves, something that changed in time. So basically it is our first move from space from that onwards. The letter R is about, in the third category, the things are constantly changing, constantly moving, and we try to find our way to have recognizable elements there so that we can still make a definition. The letter R is that kind of definition into the vibration that repeats itself all the time, that we see, okay, now we can make a connection in time and space so that this rhythm of repetition can occur. That's our way to connect to all the timings that occur and the space that we have to have the performance in it. The I is about it's on the third level of this category, where we try to frame our definition so that we can find out, okay, but within all these movements, how can we really reach a point of, okay, but this is a thing that we can understand, this is a thing we can grasp. The E will be about that thing. It will be at the edges of okay, let's find out its limits. It's really about these limits. It's in the middle category. It's about the limits of how it looks like, how the things are performed. It selects in that way the right space or place, let's say, and timings for the things where we find the right time, let's say, and the right space for what it is, so that this is well fit to that definition. Until here it's abstract, but this is the basis to build up our puzzle. And I of course I use descriptions, but there are more like orientations that are dealing with the situations that I just described, the kind of situation I just described that are fit to these letters. But I will continue to show them from letter to letter what happens in our orientation and what we are dealing with when we compare them to the original thing here, the bird. Here's the bird in all of its in some of its variations. One of it is on the branch, one of it standing on the ground. The other ones are flying in different directions with different movements actually. So here is our basis, and from there onwards we will recognize the bird. How do we recognize the bird? Another is actually should be the same thing as how I build up the word bird from letter to letter. First letter B, as you can see, it is the setting is the spatial setting. So I recognize the thing in space. I recognize the thing in a spatial setting. So I'm going to see towards like, oh, where is it? I can see where it is. It's somewhere in space. And okay, there is it. So I'm trying to see, okay, yeah, there is it. That's our first notification where the B will appear. B is a kind of finding out, okay, it's there, but what is, how do we recognize it that it's a bird, and what is it doing there, and what's the physical thing that makes it different so that we recognize it as a bird. The first letter is about B, is actually describing on that level. It is also a tendency to break the limits of the form, or break the spatial limits. You can categorize all these levels as well, that the first level of letters A, T, K are about the founding letters, U, L, and B all about the forming letters, and C, M, and X about the finalizing records. It's a very logical, simple system actually, once you grasp it, how simple it is to just follow the 1, 2, 3 rule. And then you can recognize, okay, B is at the end, it's at the second level, it's forming itself, it's at the end of it, so it's trying to conclude it, trying to breach it, trying to break its borders, is then almost obvious that it will be about that. And that's the first thing you recognize, and that's also the intention of the bird, that it wants to break the rules, almost like it wants to break its space, its limits in space, and that is where it starts to behave as a bird. The behavior of the bird is then defined in the next letter. So it is, in a way, it's like, okay, it wants to breach it. And where will it be able to breach it? In which area will it be able to breach it? The last category is the framing, usually indeed in the sky, a bit coincidentally, doesn't have to be that, but it is about the generalizations which you usually use instead of with the earth, with the sky. Okay, let's have that. Where it's basically still, where will it happen, and where is it able to breach its own conditions? Where and when, and where can we then define ourselves as a bird? Where can the bird define itself? I frame it already to the one position, or to one of the positions there. I'm going to still look for what's the position where I can reach my limits actually. And here I will frame them out, where and when. So I have one position, and then I have to go to where I see, okay, here, from here onwards, have a different position. I have a different viewpoint where I can see, okay, but here it works. That's what basically is with the E. You have a kind of negative sense first, like it's not everywhere. There's only one place where you can see, okay, but here it works. There it will work, that it will fly away, it will be the bird. Where and when a change will happen where it will breach its space and it will basically fly to the sky most of the time, not all the time, but that's one of the options that it will have. It will have many options. So I have some where and when. What it will do next, the letter R says, okay, I will connect to it so that I can continue to do that. I connect to it, and I can also, at the same time, in this frame of where I find out where I have that possibility of change, I can also immediately connect from it. That's the letter R to that word bird. The conclusion in D, which is next, is about a move in change. And the conclusion, that's my conclusion also. And the move in change starts basically in a place somewhere in space. That's where I will always start to have that, to have my performance of my definition of a bird. I will start somewhere in space. And then I move, then I do the move. I go towards that changed position. That is my conclusion. That's when I will perform myself as a bird. That's where the bird will perform itself. That's basically the explanation of the word bird explained with letters based upon the theory, which I still don't have a better title for than the sounding for, because that was the intention, basically to translate what you hear as sounds and what you can recognize as sounds into how things are formed as an expression of the same thing. But it's of course much more than that. Anyhow, web page, books, Facebook page, and this YouTube channel if you like. Thanks again for watching. Bye.